Hello everyone, my name is Stephen Murray, the host of The Gift of Giving. Welcome to the program, and for those of you who are tuning in for the first time, I'd just like to let you know that this program highlights all the work that local foundations, non-profits, 501c3 corporations are doing here in the great state of Nevada. A lot of them are doing wonderful, amazing things, and we want to give them some exposure. And today, our guest is no exception. She's Julia Lazarek, and she is the co-founder of Prison Families Alliance. Welcome to the program, Julia. Thank you for taking time out and joining us today.
Oh, thank you so much, Stephen. I'm just so excited to be here.
Oh, you're going to make a fantastic guest, and what you co-founded with Prison Family Alliance is extremely important support group. So tell us a little bit about when you co-founded it, and give us a brief overview of what the organization actually does.
Sure, I'd love to. And I'd like to start with letting you know that there's over 6 million people in the criminal justice system. So there's about 2 million people that are in federal prisons, and then there's another 4 million people that are sitting in jails serving shorter sentences, waiting to be sentenced on parole or probation. So if you look at those numbers, just think of all the family members and people on the outside that need support. And that's where Prison Families Alliance came from. It was a partnership between me and Barbara Allen in New York. We both were involved in separate organizations, which were in person. We're just think of Al-Anon. So we're the Al-Anon of the criminal justice system, helping the families understand and thrive during the times when their loved ones incarcerated. And when the pandemic hit, we couldn't meet in person anymore. So in about 2020, we joined together and we went online, and we started with one online support meeting. And our mission is to support anybody that has or had a loved one in the criminal justice system. That's families, that's youth, so that they could get the information that they need, but also to get support, because when somebody's taken into the prison system, there's a lot of shame, a lot of guilt. You know, is there anything I could have done? Could I have helped? There's depression. It's like losing a family member. So when people come together, they support each other, but then they also get information. If you've never had anybody that was in the system, what do you know about it? What's it like going to court? How do you visit? What do you wear? What can you send? I mean, there's just so much information to know, and that's what Prison Families Alliance does, is we provide the information and the support that people on the outside need to thrive when their loved one is in the system.
Wow. Well, before we get into a lot of the details of what you do on a regular basis, firstly, when you say there are 6 million people in the prison system, or waiting to go into the prison system, is that in the United States alone, 6 million?
No, thank you for bringing that up. Even though the United States has 5% of the world population, we have over 20% of the incarcerated population. So yes, I'm just talking about the United States.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's a huge number. Julia, there's a ton of worthy organizations out there. What made you choose PFA? What made you co-found it? What was the catalyst that inspired you to start PFA?
You know, I think when you go through something in your life, you can either become a victim of it or move forward and help others. And my brother was incarcerated, and it was I never knew anybody that was incarcerated. I didn't know what to do. I was lost. I didn't have anybody to talk to. None of my friends understood because they hadn't been through it. So it was just really, really difficult. You know, like I said earlier, the shame, the guilt, the depression, the numbing, just everything that I was going through. And my brother actually passed in prison. He had a life sentence, and he served it. He passed about 11 years ago from Hep C. And after he passed, I started grieving, and I realized that I had been grieving for the 15 years that he was incarcerated. And I didn't want anybody else to have to go through what I did. So I joined a local group. It was Friends and Family of Incarcerated Persons. It's a mouthful. And they gave me information about everything I needed to know about visiting my brother, and you know, when there was a lockdown and I couldn't talk to him, that I could go visit and be turned away. You know, they prepared me for all of these things, and I wanted to do that for other people. So when this group, the person that founded it, Donna Metcalf, passed away, I took it over, and then I met Barbara, and then we went online. So it was kind of a progression, but I started it mostly because I want everybody to know what I didn't know, and nobody to go through it alone, because that's what I did for those years.
Wow. Julia, I'm so sorry for your loss. That had been absolutely awful and devastating for you. It's a credit to you that you turned this tragedy into something positive, in a way, as a tribute and a memory of your brother. So it's nice that you opted to take this this route. I went and looked at your website, and I've noticed, well, there's a whole slew of events that you have organized and lined up, so we'll talk about those later. But I did see that you have workshops, and what do the workshops entail?
Right, we try to bring in workshops for our families. So we've had workshops on the past on empowerment. How do you empower yourself when somebody's incarcerated? On what to do when somebody's incarcerated, and when they come home, people that are incarcerated, the term we use is returning citizens. So the person that's been incarcerated has been institutionalized. I read somewhere that people get institutionalized for as little as being incarcerated for 18 months. So when they come back, they're not the same person. And also, when you're on the outside, you're not the same person. Maybe you had to take over the duties. What if you're the wife and your husband was incarcerated, and now you have to be both parents? What, you know, if it's a sibling, you know, just there's different situations. So the reentry workshop, which I think is really, really important, helps the families prepare for when their loved one comes home, to understand the triggers that their loved one that's incarcerated returning citizen has that might happen, so they can understand each other better. And also by having the family support, that's what's so important about Prison Families Alliance and keeping the family together, because when somebody's incarcerated and they have family support, that reduces the likelihood of recidivism, them returning back to prison.
Sure.
Yeah.
When families reach out to you, let me just give you an example, and it's probably a classic example. Let's say a husband is incarcerated, and now a mother's there, and she's got 2 kids to support. She needs help. Do you offer, other than moral support and guidance, can you steer them to, do you network with other organizations, or you partner with other organizations that you can steer them to for, say, financial assistance or
we usually,
things like that?
We'll talk about it, but we are national, so we direct them to their local social services. So I know here in Nevada, we just have a myriad of organizations that support families that are in need. So we will direct them to the resources that they need.
Okay.
Yeah.
And so you do have those connections here, or contacts, where you can redirect them. How many children do you have? Do you have many where there are kids and they've got a single mom or dad, and all of a sudden that single parent's incarcerated, and now you've got a teenager or 2 kids? Do you have many of those that reach out to you for help and support?
Yeah, as far as the youth, it's been challenging, because during the pandemic they were on Zoom, all the time, so they needed a break from the computers. Our support meetings are online, so it has been challenging bringing the youth in, but we've had up to 20 youth register for our meetings, and we do have a facilitator. Wow. And like I said, that's a little bit more challenging, so we're working on that program to make sure that we're meeting the needs of the youth. The program is awesome, the facilitators are awesome, and then we'll talk about the local program where we just bring the youth together so that they can play. So we don't have a program for them here. There's a few other groups that do programs. We just come together and have fun. You know, you can be with other kids and not worry about anything. And we have all kinds of games for them.
Perfect. Hold that thought. We're going to take a little sponsorship break, and we'll be back in a few moments. Please stay with us.
I started my career in financial services during the Great Recession, one of the worst markets we've ever been through. That challenging period was full of uncertainty, but every challenging period has its opportunities. Investing should never be like gambling. Your financial future is far more important. No one knows what the future holds, but here at Lucia Capital Group, our bucket strategy can help you prepare for whatever lies ahead. I'm Joshua Dowden. I've been working with clients for more than 16 years, and I can help you as well. My office is right here in the heart of Summerlin, just north of Charleston Boulevard. Don't let the stock market determine the quality of your retirement. Call me today for a free consultation at 702-508-6421. That's 702-508-6421.
Welcome back, everyone, and I'd like to thank Joshua Dowden from Lucia Capital Group for all the sage financial advice he's given me over the years with my retirement planning. And we'd like to welcome back Julia Lazarek, co-founder of Prison Families Alliance, sorry.
Thank you.
Julia, there's a lot of meetings that you have on your calendar. I was just overwhelmed and impressed with the sheer volume of them. First of all, before we get into the meetings themselves, I noticed that you have the time zones for each of the meetings, the time zones across the country, Pacific, Mountain, and the East, and what have you. So you don't just host meetings for Nevadans, you'll welcome anybody from any part of the country. Is that correct?
Oh, definitely. Well, don't forget Barbara, the other co-founders in New York. I'm here in Nevada, in Las Vegas. And when we joined together during the pandemic, we started with one meeting a month. One meeting, a general support meeting. And then as time grew, we found that there was a need for other meetings. And now we're actually even, people call from other countries. We have somebody from the UK that calls in, somebody from the Bahamas, and several people from Canada. So it's really grown. I mean, people need that support.
Yes.
And they're like, we wish we found you in the beginning. So getting the word out and doing things like this is so important.
Yes, absolutely. Well, I'm looking at your calendar and I'm seeing 1, 2, 3, 4, 6, 10. You've got 20 events in November. I mean, that's an awful lot of events, so you're to be commended. And you've broken them up. You've got a support for, a lot of them are family supports, and you've got for sex offences, mental illness, you've got a mom's coffee and chat time, spouse and partners, you've got a children's one, you've got substance disorder, support for siblings. Would you like to talk about a couple of these meetings? And are they all Zoom meetings? Is that what most of them are?
Yeah, these are Zoom meetings, and this is for the families on the outside. So when we say that it's for loved ones that are incarcerated with a mental illness, loved ones that have been incarcerated for or convicted of a sexual offense, loved ones that are incarcerated, but you're on the outside and you're the spouse or you're the sibling. The siblings group is a new group, and that's so dear to my heart because I was a sibling, and people don't realize the relationship that siblings have. So that's a new group. Our first meeting was last month, and we had women from 21 years old to 74.
Oh, good grief.
Yeah, and that one was women. We do have men that come too. And then we're starting the substance abuse disorders group because there's a lot of people we know that are incarcerated that have addictions. So when you're on the outside, how do you deal with that? And then also if you have a loved one with a mental illness, I mean, on the outside you could take care of them, especially if it was your child. But when they're inside, what do you do? How do you support them? So we talk a lot about, in all of the meetings, how you can advocate for your loved one. And the one thing we tell everybody in every meeting is to have a HIPAA form and or a power of attorney. because when somebody's incarcerated, you can't just like call up and say, hey, how is my son doing, right? But if you have this form, then you're more apt to get the information, especially if they get sick while they're incarcerated. And that's what I had for my brother. I had the HIPAA form, so I was able to speak to the doctors while he was going through his treatment there.
Sure.
So yeah, we have 12 facilitators, and again, this is people with lived experience that are facilitating the groups. We're not professionals, we're not legal, we're not psychologists, psychiatrists. We're just people that have lived it and are supporting other people. And our meetings, they're just growing because people are finding us, and it's so important to get that support and not be out there alone trying to figure all this out. And
Sure.
we have people that friendships, that have joined, people that would never have known each other. I mean, for me, I would never have met these people across the United States, and we say it's the group that nobody wants to belong to, but we're glad you're here.
Yes. And you say, you're layman, you're not professional psychiatrist, and that's probably very important, because you've been there, you've done that, you've traveled that road, taken that journey. Sometimes people don't always want to go and to see psychiatrists because they think they can be psychoanalyzed and what have you. They just want to speak to somebody and just get a little bit of support, moral support, comfort, which is obviously what you do. The meetings that you have where it's sex offenders, family members of sex offenders, do you have any children that attend those meetings whose parents were convicted of sex offenders?
No, these are all adults. Yeah.
They're all adults.
All the meetings are adults except for the youth meeting that we have.
So you do have the youth meeting, and then do you have many of the youth whose parents were sex offenders that are having trouble not only dealing with their mother or father in prison, but the crime of which they've been committed?
A lot of times we don't talk about the offense.
Okay.
And especially with the youth, we're not focusing on what their parent was incarcerated for, or their sibling or family member. We focus on empowering them and dealing with their feelings so they don't work out or act out. And then also, children with an incarcerated parent are twice as likely to offend if there's not intervention and if there's not family support. So that's why it's so important for the children to get the support that they need. And especially when they're together, they learn from each other. They see they're not alone. And it doesn't matter if the youth is in the same state or a different state.
Sure.
They understand that I'm not
Yes.
alone and I can get through this. And we have some youth that are examples for the other youth that have
Yes.
been in programs for a while. And we work with a group in Georgia for that supports youth there.
Wow.
And I wanted to bring up something about the group that has loved ones that are incarcerated with sex offenses. That is so important. We have 2 meetings a month, because if your loved one was arrested for a sex offense, just think of the taboo. They don't have anybody to talk to, and a lot of times the families are ostracized, right, because
Yes.
of something that their loved one may or may not have done. So, I mean, there's just a lot of support that Prison Families Alliance can give to everybody that needs that, so that they
Sure.
can talk to others. Yeah.
Is there a lot of anger when people first join? Do you encounter a lot of people who are angry, and especially again in the youth program, the kids come on and they're very angry, and you have to sort of deal with that and try and calm them down and help redefine their perspective?
Yeah, I think what a lot of people don't realize is that when somebody is taken into the prison system, it's almost like you go through the same process as a death, even though they're still there. So if you think of what the process is when somebody passes away, so there is anger in there. I mean, and then the goal is to come to acceptance. And so that's really what we're working on is you can grieve. If you want to cry. It's a safe place to cry. If you want to be mad, be mad. This changed your whole life. The whole criminal system changed your life, because now maybe every week you're going to see your loved one. Now you're sending money there. You have to spend money to travel. You might have to take time off of work. So it's yes, definitely grief, anger, shame, and then the goal is acceptance.
Yes. Well, that ultimately is the key, isn't it? Acceptance of where things are and what happened. That's the key.
Yeah, and what I always say is that it's not easy. It gets easier as time goes through, but it's never easy. And then those of us that have been through it are examples to give others hope that we made it through it and they
Sure.
can make it through
Yes.
it. Yeah.
Well, you're inspirations. You know, you're the role models, especially for the youth program. You guys are the role models, no question. I saw that recently there was an International Prisoners Family Conference. So there's some international organization. Have you attended those, and what do they accomplish, or how do they help out?
The International Prisoners Family Conference is a wonderful conference. It was in person, and this year and last year it was online because people still are not really comfortable traveling.
Sure.
Next year we're looking at it being in person, but it just brings people together, and they have speakers that are so informative. There's judges. We've had a judge. There's been law enforcement. There's people from all different groups. Like I've spoken there also, and just sharing information. But it's creating a community. So Prison Families Alliance is a support group where we support people that are going through things, and also when their loved one returns, when they're home, because it doesn't stop.
Sure.
But International Prisoners Family Conference is creating that community that PFA is a part of, and then there's also the Advocacy and Action Coalition that was born out of that, where people can come together. And the advocacy group provides information. They did this great program about somebody a family that is going to visit their loved one, and in one scenario they're prepared, and in another they're not prepared. So it was just amazing when you see the feelings, and you could see it from the aspect of the child, the caretaker, and even humanizing the guards that are there, and how the person that's incarcerated feels. So just that program was awesome, and just all the speakers that were there provided a lot of really good information. So I highly recommend it. It's where I met my co-founder, Barbara Allen.
Oh, gotcha.
Right?
Cool.
And then we knew each other for years, and then like I said earlier, when we couldn't meet in person with our groups anymore, we joined together, and it's just provided the service across the United States.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's great to have an organization like that, where it's great for networking and, again, everybody bonding and pulling together. So that's terrific.
Yeah, and other organizations find each other too.
Yes.
I mean,
for sure.
it's just great for networking.
Yes.
And if you're a family member, it's just great to learn.
Yes.
Yeah.
Because it was international, how many countries were represented as part of that conference?
I believe last time there were 7 countries.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
Yes.
it started with some attendees from South Africa that are doing programs, and we're very close with a group of families outside in Scotland that come, and then other countries. We have other people from other countries that have spoken over the years. Even Croatia, I learned a lot about Croatia one year. So it's a wonderful organization.
Yes. Well, and of course you all get to spread the word, and spreading the word is also what it's all about. And we're going to come back after the next sponsorship break and talk about the ways that you're trying to spread the word, because you don't have offices per se. Yours is all done by Zoom meetings, so you've got to find other ways of getting the word out there. And we'll talk about that when we come back, and we'll take a few minutes break for our sponsor.
As a proud sponsor of the Gift of Giving, Thomas Dermatology is deeply rooted in its Las Vegas community and is always looking for ways to give back and continue to serve patients of the Las Vegas Valley. Amidst the rapidly and ever-changing landscape of healthcare delivery, both nationally and locally, our singular focus on patient care has remained constant. We have grown responsibly, enabling our team of skincare experts to provide all the benefits of a large practice while maintaining the care and relationships that comes with a small, private, local practice. For patients with cosmetic interests, Thomas Dermatology has an extensive aesthetics department featuring a team of experts who provide cosmetic injections like Botox and dermal fillers, as well as a full suite of state-of-the-art lasers and med spa services. The newest addition to the clinic is a facial plastic surgery division, allowing us to treat the aging face more comprehensively. These services are complemented by our extensive inventory of skincare products, offering patients the necessary and evidence-based ingredients to improve and maintain the health and look of their skin at home. Thomas Dermatology strives to be a part of every step in the patient's journey to healthy skin. We look forward to welcoming you and your families.
And thank you, Thomas Dermatology, for being such a supporter of our program. I've appreciated your care and compassion over the last few years and your professionalism, and I highly recommend Thomas Dermatology to all of my viewers. And I'd like to welcome back Julia Lazarek, co-founder of Prison Families Alliance.
Yes.
I got it right. And I'd like to talk about spreading the word. First of all, it seems that you've got two flyers. One is what you hand out to individuals. And where do you give those flyers out? Where do you meet these people in person that you can hand out the flyers?
Well, we've been at NDOC at the jail downtown,
Gotcha.
and
Okay.
there was a time before the pandemic where we had a table there, and when people went to visit their loved ones, we could give them a flyer. But now they have a resource area. So at the jails, we have it at the North Las Vegas jail, the Las Vegas jail, and Clark County Jail. There's a lot of
Gotcha.
jails.
Right.
So we have our flyers there so people can get information when they go to visit their loved one. And then we also have it in the prisons, in the women's prison, Florence McClure, High Desert, Southern Desert. So when people go to visit, they can get a flyer. And we're working, reached out to the wardens to see if we can get the flyers in the pods, because in the past when people went to visit, they would give it to their loved ones that was incarcerated and they would share it. So times have changed a little bit. So we're hoping that we can, that the wardens will put them in the pods. I mean, there's a lot going on there. So
Sure.
we'll get there. And then we're also working with attorneys. We've reached out to many of the criminal justice attorneys and provided them with flyers. So we're hoping that they are sharing it with their families, because as far as the attorneys are concerned, if the families come to us and we can provide them information, then they're not going to be bombarded with so many calls like, what does this mean? How do I do that? How do I visit? And all of that. Mm-hmm. So it's really a win-win for the attorneys. And we've reached out to the courts to try to get our flyers out there, because when somebody, I mean, that's the worst. I'll never ever forget the day that my brother was convicted. I mean, it just stays with you. Mm-hmm. And walking out of there clueless and not knowing what to do. So imagine if there was a flyer there, that there was this support group that I could call and have somebody to talk mm-hmm. to. So that's my hope.
Well, you have two things. You have a flyer, a one-page flyer, and then you have a little leaflet.
Yeah. So, they're about this. I don't have it here. Yeah, that's about the same information, and I think you're talking about the PFA Cares, which is our new local program.
Yes, that's what I meant. Where do you hand those out at?
We are distributing those at the libraries. We have a volunteer that's going to different areas. So wherever people will allow flyers, pamphlets, that's where we put it. So we're putting them all over the valley here.
Okay. I'd like to talk a little bit about the court system. You said you're sending this out to attorneys, and you're trying to get them into the courts. Mm-hmm. Have you had any success at all, or
not yet? I've been down there and I've asked, and so it'll come. But no, we haven't had any. Wow. Anybody knows anybody that can help?
Well, sure. If there's anybody viewing that's in the legal system or a judge in the court system that can help get this information out, because as you said, it'll probably save them a lot of time when family members are incarcerated and these people don't know where to go and what to do. And if they had your leaflets there, that would probably give them a lot of help and a lot of guidance. I also understand that you and your co-founder, you have both written books
Yes.
on your experiences. Would you like to tell us a little bit about them, and then we'll find out where you can get them. But tell us a little bit about the books, how long it took you to write them, and whether it was cathartic or painful to write it. So tell us a little bit about your book and what it's called.
I'm just going to start with Barbara's really quick, because
Okay,
Barbara
that's
did
fine.
Doing Time on the Outside. Barbara started supporting people and was aware of this when her husband was incarcerated in the 60s. So she's been doing it a long time, and it wasn't until she was in her 80s she wrote this book, and it's a history of what she went through. So hers is more her story, and it's fascinating and talks about when she started the support group in New York. My book is right here, as you see it. It's Prison, the Hidden Sentence, and I want to gift you with a copy of it so you
bless
can
your
read
heart.
it.
Thank you.
And to me, this book is more, it contains everything I wish I knew. So I think I was really, I'm a project manager by trade, so I think it was like, what, you know, structuring it in a way that, what was it like before my brother was incarcerated? What was it like going to court? What was it like visiting him? What kind of support is available? So it was more of a primer, I guess, for anybody that has somebody incarcerated or that's going through the system, or just, I think everybody should read it, only because it contains everything that I didn't know, because you never know when it's going to happen to you or somebody in your family.
Oh, for sure.
So
yes.
And at the end of each chapter, there's a list of things that you need to know about the court or about visitation. And then what's spattered in there is my story. And what's really interesting is I've only recently started speaking about what my brother was convicted of. Through the whole story, the whole book, you don't know what my brother was convicted for, because I didn't want anybody to pass judgment on him.
Sure.
So it's just a little bit of our story,
Sure.
and everything you need, everything that I wish I knew is in there.
That's great.
Yeah.
And where can people buy your book, Julia?
Right. Both books are on Amazon.
Okay.
And then they can always reach out to me. We'll be providing that information.
Absolutely. So, and yes, that information will be posted on this interview. So that's great. What would you say is the biggest challenge that you're dealing with right now with the organization, and where you want to take it, and that's challenging at this point in time?
Well, like I said, I'm a project manager by trade, so the organizing and getting everything done is good, and really the biggest challenge is funding, because we're self-funded right now. So what we're doing is gathering information, sending out surveys, and getting the information that we need so that we can go for grants. So that's new to us, but that's what we'll be doing. We're looking at office space, and we also want to have paid staff, because right now we have about 20 volunteers. We have 12 facilitators and other people that help, including our board. We're building our board, so we are looking for board members that are participating board members.
Okay.
You know, that really want to get out there and spread the word and help us, because we're really one of the only organizations that's out there for as long as we've been out there, with the structure that we have. In a way, we're like Starbucks. Like, you go to one of our meetings, you're going to have the same structure in every meeting.
Yes.
It's well organized. And then our in-person meetings here just started a couple weeks ago. I guess we're about 2 months now, and just getting wonderful speakers and getting people out to come visit, to sit there and listen. We provide a meal.
Yes.
And so we're looking for sponsors and for funding, and for people that really want to help support these families, because they truly are a lot of times the victims of the criminal justice system and what's happening.
Sometimes it's harder for those on the outside than it is for those on the inside. So if any of you viewers want to volunteer for this organization, donate, or help out in any way, shape or form, Julia is about to give us the contact information for you. So Julia, tell us, how can we get in touch with you if anybody needs to volunteer or could use your services too? So
oh yeah,
please share.
wonderful. So you can go to our website at prisonfamiliesalliance.org, and our email is connect@prisonfamiliesalliance.org. So if you email us or if you check out our website, there's a lot of information. And if you want to reach out to me personally, you can email Julia, that's Julia, at prisonfamiliesalliance.org. And you can just Google us because we're out there now. We have high visibility, and that's how a lot of people find us. So just Prison Families, look us up, and we're here to support you. And we have these PFA pins. We just had them made, and I wanted to gift you with one of those too.
Thank you
so
very
that you
much.
Can think of us.
I
and
will
wear
certainly
your
think of
pin.
you and remember you. Thank you, Julia. And
Thank you.
Thanks for being such a delightful guest today and sharing with us the knowledge of your organization. I think you're helping a lot of people out there. I know you're going to be helping a lot more after this interview airs, I'm sure.
Yeah, I hope so. Thank you so much.
Thank you for being with us today. And thank you too to our producer, the show's producer, John Stiles, and WWDBTV. I'd like to thank our sponsors, Thomas Dermatology, Joshua Darden from Lucia Capital Group, and my business partner for the last 25 years, RJ Champion, whose message you'll hear at the end of this program. Finally, I'd like to thank you, the viewer, for tuning in. I hope you've enjoyed this program and found it informative. If you have any questions or comments, please reach out to me at stephen@thegiftofgiving.vegas. I hope you'll join us next week, where our guests will be the executive directors from Transition Services, Inc., and they help developmentally challenged adults find meaning and purpose in their lives. So I hope you'll join us then. In the meantime, please stay safe, be kind to one another, and have a fantastic week. We'll see you next week. Goodbye.
Mr. R.J. Champion is proud to sponsor WWDB-TV's series, The Gift of Giving, and wishes the program much success. Congratulations and gratitude to the featured guests and the organizations they represent. Our community is well served by your tireless efforts to make Nevada a better state for all its residents.